Okay, so first of all, thank you to everyone for the support. I mean, I'm really happy to be here, and I matched the drapes on the side, so that's a plus. Um, for the people who doesn't know who I am, my name is Santiago Orozco. I'm a self-taught type designer. I mean, I had to look and read everything on the internet when I discovered typography. I will say by accident, but I will talk about later. And I have to say, one of the websites that allowed me to discover typography was the Look the Boy website, who is sitting in front. I mean, his website is a great resource for students. I mean, it really helped a lot. I have a background in computer science, which is I'm a programmer, and I am working at Type Network and Font Bureau and my own studio, TypeMate. For the up until 2015, I was designing newspapers and magazines digital. I mean, we built web newspapers in Mexico, Central America, Asia, some of here in the US, and with a big focus in user experience. So we have to watch how people interact with machines, and we have to detect where they are wasting time, and we have to make software that saves milliseconds or seconds of time. I mean, that really helped them a lot. And I forgot to put something here that I am the organizer of the conference Typography Mexico, which this is the third year we do. And it's next month, and the subject is on variation. So if you are interested in going or have information, you can speak to me. Yeah. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico, which spells the same almost as Montreal, and I was talking to my friend Alexandra that it's the complete opposite. A bit here is cold, there is hot, but in the meaning it's the same. It's Mount Royal or Mount King. So we have surrounded the US. So this morning I'm going to talk about user interfaces for type design. This only from a user experience perspective. I mean, as we interact with things, we may think that the user interface is this. I mean, sliders are good, but have you ever wondered why there are sliders? I mean, as a user experience, you have to question everything. You have to ask why to everything. And the first thing when the variable font specification came out was why there are sliders. I mean, I know. But first, I want you to know why there are sliders, and I'm going to walk you through several interfaces, and at the end, you will get the point. And I have a little demo that I'm going to show you. So, first thing first. For me, there are three kinds of users. The first one is us, type designers, type experts. The second one are the designers, the people who use our typography to design. And the third one is the rest of the world, people who doesn't know what a font is, what light, bold, or anything about it. So, and we all three kind of people share these things in common, because we all want to change the font. We look for fonts to the ones we want, and we can, after we got the kind of font we want, the construction it had, we added effects. That's what designers do to typography. They added effects. So, for starters, let's go first with the UI evolution, user interface evolution, or the history of sliders. 1979, this was the first appearance of this guy. Oh, no, this guy. The mouse changed how we interact with computers. This was a representation of the typing machine, and the thing that was added was this. The mouse, or as I call it, the pointer. Then, in 1983, with the with the Mac Lisa, we have our first slider here. I mean, this was the first instance. Then, then in 95 with Windows 2.0, no, Windows 1, then 2.0, they took the sliders and put them on the cursor blink and the double click speed. I mean, then, 1999, when I was in high school, in high school you had to choose where do you focus. So I focused on programming. And my first introduction to programming world was Microsoft Visual Force Pro 7 in 1999. And as you can see, we have the controls here. That's how. I discovered that you can make programs and exactly that you look at in the computer with the same custom controls. But the thing that most amazed me was when I was designing a program was this window. That was my favorite. When you can change the font to bold, condense, extend, italic, outline, shadow. I mean, somewhere in Microsoft, there was somebody that was worried about this and give the users the options to change the font to extend or condense. I mean, I didn't even knew that fonts were condensed or extend at that time. So, but what I want you to look at this is the controls. I mean, these are custom. They have been in computers since the beginning, up until now. I mean, the software is just, any kind of software is a combination of drop-downs, labels, buttons. But the most important thing is that they are very small. I mean, I'm not blaming, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying there is not much you can do when you make software, because these are everywhere. And any software is just a combination of drop-downs, text box, and buttons. So we are limited by the iOS UI controls. I mean, there are discussions about how the interface should look like, but at the end, there will be how many drop-downs, where, on which side, and which tabs it will have. So we've been carrying with all these things since '81 up until today. But in 2007 and 2008, something happened that, I mean, it changed all the way how we interact with machines. And I mean, I was pretty excited when it came out. So this leads us that there are two kinds of UI right now. The first, which I mentioned, is the pointer. It is that little guy. Everything is designed in terms of that little things. Things are small. Everything, there's menus, submenus, all the things are of that size. And that's why things look complex. Things are changing. Things are getting a little bit more bigger. And if you want to have a headache, let's look at this. So the first impression that you have is like, oh, what is that? I mean, you are scared of this. But once you learn that this is a music production software, this is the Ableton Live, once you learn that you have the instruments and you can drag and drop them to each column, you select one column and it has all the options here, I mean, it's easy. But the first impression is, what is that? So everything is so small, everything is just for that pointer. And you can see when you switch between instruments, I mean, it is smart enough to show you the options. I mean, this is a old school bass, and this is an old school Rhodes keyboard. So please don't blame the slider, blame the pointer. Everything is his fault. So, and the other kind of interface that I'm really excited is UI Doge. Like I said, things are getting bigger, more generous, and I have to say, it is changing how we interact with computer. I mean, in music production interfaces, I mean, everything, you don't need explain the interface. It is just waiting there for you to touch it. So just tap and move the slider. That's the pitch slider. You have some tabs that you can customize, and the most important thing is that you can customize what happens in each button. This is a synthesizer, but what I want you to look at is this pitch. It's not a slider, it's a wheel that when you press one keyboard and you move the pitch, it changes the note. Yeah, if you ever use a Korg keyboard, this is great. Then, remember the interface that was the most complex interface? Well, they knew that this is very complex. We have to make it music production simple. And I'm talking about music production, but all this is going to fit into typography. So they knew, how do we make this happen? So they created this interface where they have a touch panel, one column that it's completely empty, but you can customize what happens in each one. This is a little video I took. If we have some. So here in the top, you can see that you can select what happens in each one. And the little LED, it's a little detail of usability, because if they have put it in the center of the touch panel, you cannot see that. But instead, they put it on the side, so you're touching and you see where it is. So what I'm going is that user interfaces designed for touch allow multiple input. Things are for human proportion, for the size of the fingers. The icons on our phones, they are designed for human fingers. They are not for pointers. And the most important is that you can interact with them like any physical object. So what has all this to do with variable fonts? How they can look? But first, I would like to say that the three kinds of people that I mentioned at the beginning, we type designers make fonts that requires this thing for designers to use. That's what we do right now. And for the rest of the world, we only give them a slider. To change the font size on the iPhones, you have to look for it, and then there is a slider that says how big it is. And that's the most we can do for the user, for the people who doesn't make this. And one week before coming here, I was having breakfast in one of my secret spots in Monterey, and I overheard one lady that was talking on the phone with her friend, and she said something like, "I want to be in Facebook, but I can only be in Facebook like 1 minute because my eyes hurt. The font is too small." So the designers take all the decisions for the users. But all these decisions are not always the same. Of course, reading distance for me is different from my mother or for this lady on the coffee shop. And how to make something complex to look easy? Of course, the first option is, okay, let's throw there some sliders. And as fonts become more intelligent, I'm using for this example Amstelbar that was designed by David Berlow, that it's right now one of the more complex variable fonts that are. The current specification only have the basic register axis. But with the Font Bureau type network proposal, When I first saw it in Spring, it just made a lot of sense to me. Because, I mean, from a computer science engineer or from a programmer, I mean, I see fonts as a combination of white and black. I mean, every font is just a combination of how much black are the stems and how much is the contrast. And it all varies a lot. So when you can separate all those, all the fonts with all these axes, you can create something very specific that you can customize not only for me, but for the lady the font size that they choose, it's not the same as I will feel comfortable reading with. So I made this demo, and I'm going to show what it's all this. So, it's the full screen. So, giving all that, all the things that I talk is like I think that the interface should be more easy to use. It doesn't have to be complex, and it just have to be, that anyone can use it. I mean, if you made the application with a lot of drop-downs and sliders, I mean, of course, people will use it. But if you give them the option to do something really fast, I mean, that will do. So here we have a slider, and this is programmed to have multiple inputs. So you can have in your finger sliding and touching the thing that you want to change. But I cannot do this because I have this stupid pointer here. So the thing is that you can jump between each of these parameters, and the interface remember where you were. An optical size, no, this is definitely a display. And you can more weight and the width. And this is draggable. I mean, this is like a widget that you can, go navigating between all the website, and you can select things. Okay. You start specifying the things that you want to change. I mean, it feels weird using it with the pointer, but when I tested on the iPad, it was like just scrolling one side, tapping and dragging. I mean, it's really fast that just move the mouse, click, select font, click on the drop-down with the size, enter to apply the values. I mean, here you can jump just one. The most important thing is that you can show all the axes in the complex for advanced user at the bottom. I mean, you can change the size. You don't need labels to tell people you can change this from the side, for one size of another. So here you can take, optical. Yes, it's optical. And then this is why I think the recommendation of Font Bureau and Type Network is amazing, because once you have the proportions and the weight that you have, you can fine-tune each one of those parameters, like X opaque, that's how much thick are the stems, or transparent, that you modify the space between the stems. I am here at the maximum, so yeah. Y opaque, that's the contrast. You have thick contrast and thin. I mean, the way of customized type using all these axes is it's going to be great for the users and for my mom and the lady in the coffee shop. And here, with them, you can make all the small things like white, transparent, lowercase, that's so much X height do you want? And with this interface, it's just much easier than the drop-downs, sliders, and more. So you can just tap on something, and move how much do you want. That's the only thing you can do. And with those axes, you can grade anything. I mean, you can grade display sizes, text sizes, and I mean, that's the way to make fonts. In that way, it's great. Ascenders and descenders. So, the human interface, I mean, this little window is the size of an iPhone. I mean, you can, if you ever use your iPad or your iPhone as a second monitor, you can drag the window, use it from here. And you can be moving, I mean, your mouse and then tweaking all the things with your iPhone. So what I think is that interfaces should be simple. And while working, designing newspapers, you have to step back and watch how people interact with machines. I mean, you will be amazed on how you don't notice the little things and how you interact with machines. So this is what I'm proposing, a Doge variable interface that you can customize with each column. What do you want to do? And you can, with the recent addition of the show tag, I mean, you can tell this interface what can be shown or not. Yeah. Back to the presentation. I will propose that this interface show presets as a starting point, like, weight, width, and optical size. And as a recommendation, you don't have to display all. You have to start simple and then build on the top of that. I will strongly avoid standard UI controls because we know how limited they are, and you will only make complex software. And don't be afraid of the past. That was referencing that when multiple masters didn't came to live, computers were different. Internet was slow. There were no touch interfaces. I mean, things were designed for small pointers. I mean, now things are different. The web is growing really fast, and you can make something really fast, some new interface with JavaScript and HTML. Lastly, we can learn a lot of music production UI. I mean, just look how these guys are just doing one thing here, another there. I mean, we designers are the only professionals that use both hands. But when we try to move something on the screen, we have to move the mouse. Cooks, mechanics, every other people use both hands. And I think we can be a little bit more productive and more faster using both hands. And if I wasn't clear, please kill the pointer. Lastly, I strongly suggest that we are moving away from the mouse, and we are moving to everything it's surfaces of Doge. I mean, I look forward for the future that, well, my whole desk is just an OS that I can make everything there. This is a setup when I'm playing with music. I put the controller on my iPad and I'm typing, and then just touching and moving with both hands. And thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I want.
Thank you. We are having a little